Do a walk around the fish room tonight and have a little discussion about lighting. Most of my tanks I run the Beamworks light on. They're cheap, they work, and I refuse to spend $300 on a Fluval. It's basically the same unit with less bells and whistles. I see a lot of people who get the Beamworks lights and then talk about how they don't like them and this, that, and the other. There's several different models, and you just need to make sure you get the right model for what you're using. The basic model is the EA, and you can see the number of LEDs on there, as opposed to the DA, the DAF spec. If you're running a planted tank, you absolutely need the DAF spec. It's got twice the amount of LEDs, it's twice as bright, and it just works better. Non-planted tanks, if you just want something that's going to display your fish and have a basic light, the EA will be fine. And they also have the EA and DA without the red and just the white and blue. Now, coming for me, Wheezy. There's also two different options when it comes to the white light. They have a 6500K or a 10,000K, and I'll show you the difference on those a little bit later here. So, Tetra tank, nothing really new. They're always status quo doing their thing. But the light I run on here, let me open my lid here. Is the DAF spec. You can see there's twice as many lights in it as opposed to the EA. Most people buy the EA because it's cheaper, and then complain that it won't grow their plants. Well, it's not going to because it's not enough light. So this is a 40-gallon breeder. It is injected, and there's nothing I can't grow in here. The 40 breeders are probably one of the best tanks to do planted because of the height. They're not very tall. It's easy for the light to get all the way down to your substrate, and it's got a big surface area, which is good for the fish. Move on to the angelfish tank. They're doing fine as usual. Now, this tank is 31 inches tall. It's a 47-gallon column. I went through probably a dozen different DIY lights on here. Everything all the way up to like a 150-watt LED floodlight. And nothing would get all the way to the bottom on 30 inches of water column. My red-tailed shark in there? He's taking up a new hiding spot. So, the only thing I found that worked is that. It is a LED high bay lighting fixture. They're typically used in warehouses, anything where you've got a 20, 30 foot ceiling and you need to get light all the way down to the ground. It's 70 watts. It is insanely bright, and it absolutely penetrates 30 inches of water all the way down to the substrate. Well, as you can see, I've got light everywhere. In this tank, again, will grow everything. I chop between these two tanks. I probably throw out a bushel of plants every 2 weeks. This tank is also injected as well. These are the only two tanks I have that are injected. The rest are not. Moving over here, this is a 90-gallon. No plants in here because he's a red devil and he'll destroy everything. So I don't need a whole lot of light in here. I need enough light to display him, show off his colors correctly, and not make a bunch of heat. So that's the EA. Again, this is a 90-gallon tank that's 4 feet long. This is the Beamsworks EA. As you can see, way less LEDs. Plenty for it to display well. I'm not growing plants. I don't need to spend money on a light to grow plants. He's gotten kind of huge lately. He gets bored and has way too much energy, so he randomly, regularly rearranges his substrate and he'll make mounds in here that are 10 inches high. So I've given him a ping pong ball, and I got 2 holes poked in it so it becomes neutrally buoyant, and he regularly plays with it. He'll bat it around the tank, and his latest trick now is he turns his body sideways to it and whacks it with his tail like a dolphin would at the dolphin show. So it's pretty damn funny to watch him start batting the ball around. But he's incredibly territorial. He attacks anything that comes near or in his tank, and he's a red devil. So I don't blame him for it. That's what he does. Yeah, so EA light on this tank because I don't grow plants and don't care. It's another 90 gallon, my flower horn. No plants in here for the same reasons. He'll destroy it. This is just the white and blue. This is actually an F-spec. It's probably 7 years old. Half the LEDs down there are burnt out, but it's alright because that end sits over the return, and I don't want the light in there growing algae anyway. So this one is old. This is probably a Gen 1, where I think the stuff you're buying nowadays is like a Gen 4. It works fine for what I need it for in here. It's old. It still works. It lights him up well. He's gotten very fat lately. Yeah, quit showing off. He's probably a good 10 inches long and probably about 3.5 inches thick. This is a 29 gallon. It's my marbled cray tank. There's a bunch of white clouds in here, a couple fatheads. I've moved a couple of them out of here into my koi pond because they've been just fighting for territory. And I see there's a bunch of little ones in here again now. So I've been moving the bigger ones out into the ponds. I put 2 of them in my fish pond, the koi pond, and I think I'm going to put a couple in the turtle pond. They're just, they beat each other up because there's just not enough room in here. This is just a cheap little EA. Again, there's no plants in here because crayfish. And it lights it up well enough. It's my 75 gallon Crebensis tank. I've been playing around with different lights on here. I had an EA on there, and it doesn't grow plants well. They live, they survive. Like in here I've got Java Fern, Anubias, Wisteria, some Amazon swords. They don't do great, they do okay. But in this tank particularly, I've got a, where is he? I got a silver dollar, which means all your foliage is on borrowed time anyway. Their one goal in life is to destroy all foliage as soon as possible. That is the motto of the silver dollar swimming lawnmower. So I've got an EA on here. Does fine. Plants they don't thrive, but I don't expect them to. Back to the Crebensis tank. I've been playing around with different lights on here. I had an EA on here and nothing was doing well, and I really want the plants to do better in here. So I threw this classy setup here. I threw one of these LED shop lights on here. These are $14 on Amazon. And the plants have all really perked up. You see there's a bunch of new growth on my Amazon. There's new leaves on my Java Fern. My Amazon is actually flowering and throwing off runners. New leaves on the Anubias. So everything has perked up with the addition of this light. Now, it's only 6500K and I hate the color, so I just ordered a DAF spec to put on here because, as you can see, the color rendering, this has the 10,000K white lights. That's 6500. If you can, Yeah, you can almost see the difference there. I don't like the yellow, I like the bright white. My Endlers, there's a bazillion of them. This is a 46-gallon bow front, and it's got it's pretty tall. I've just got an EA on here, and again, the stuff does okay, not great, but it'll survive, and for them, it's fine. Shrimp tank. Got a bunch of babies in here. I just noticed the other day. Baby cherry shrimp. I don't see any right now, but trust me, there's a bunch in here. Rule of thumb with shrimp is if you can see one, there's 10 you can't see. So I can see 2 right there. So there's probably 30 in here right now, but they're in the process of recolonizing still. And this is just a little cheapo $20, I don't know, Amazon special. It's only a 5.5 gallon tank, and that is plenty of light. Snails galore. Look at the size of that MTS. Got ram's horns, MTS, shrimpses, and I threw some Endlers in here just for some movement. My grout tanks down here. Again, those are just cheap $20 specials. I really don't care because I just throw random plants in here when I do water changes from the other tanks, and they destroy them all and eat most of it anyway. These guys are getting pretty big. I really need to get rid of these guys because she's currently egg bound right now, and I'm going to have more in the next week or two. So somebody out there needs Africans, and you should come get them. I will make you a deal. Alright, see that guy right there? See what he looks like? His twin is now right there. Look at the difference from moving him in here. Oh, this is the Africans, 125 gallon. On here, I've got, and this is a good example, this is an EA. That's an EA with the 10,000 white LEDs. Behind it is an EA that's got the 6,000 or 6,500K LEDs. I only have the blue lights turned on that because I can't stand the yellow. The additional blue does make it really white looking, so I can actually show you the difference. Let me turn everything off. Alright. That's the 10,000K. That's the 6,500K. See the difference in the color? Let me get on that rock and I'll show you. So 6,500. 10,000. 10,000. 6,500. Turn the 10,000 on at the same time. See the difference in the color? I don't like that. So I run like that. So that's using the 10,000 white and just the blue off the other one. So now you know what you need to order. Take a walk outside, see what the fish are doing. It stormed like crazy here a couple hours ago, so I'm sure that my water is going to be all murky and nasty looking. But we'll see. That's not too bad. And of course they see me come out here and now they're going to swarm me because they think I'm going to feed them. And they're right. There you have it. Feeding frenzy. All right, all for today. Later.